Good morning, everyone. It's been a while since I did a video from this specific angle laying down in bed, and it's comfortable and I feel like it. Today's been a good morning. I slept in because I don't have to work today because it is Indigenous Peoples Day. And to start off, I just want to say that I am so thankful to the Indigenous people who lived on the land that I am on right now for, cultivating the land, honoring it, and I hope that I'm doing the right efforts that your tribe had done in the past. So, yeah. And in today's video, I am going to be doing a story time because I don't know, I just feel called to do it. And yeah. So if you couldn't already tell by the title, I was raised pagan. And this is 100% true. It's not clickbait or anything. And it's a fact. So I was raised pagan, and I grew up going to a pagan spiritualist church. In fact, the only pagan spiritualist church in the United States. And it is called the Church of Eternal Light, and it is located in Bristol, Connecticut, if you were interested in fact checking me. Yeah, or if you're interested in going. It's a great place, good vibes all around, and there's just a great community of people. So anyways, I was raised pagan, and I kind of wanted to talk about what it looks like growing up pagan and what my experience is, what my family's experience is, like how it affects me to this day, how it's affected me in the past. And, I kind of wanted to talk about some things that I see new people who are interested in paganism or other similar topics in the modern world. And yeah. And before I begin, I'm going to talk about this at the end. But if you're someone who's new to paganism, Wiccan, witchcraft, neo-paganism, and you have questions, you can always reach out to me on Instagram. That's probably where I'll be more likely to answer. And you can also reach out to me on Twitter, or X now that you call it that. Yeah, you can also comment it down below if that's what you're comfortable with. But yeah, my socials are in the description box. So yeah. All right, let's get started. So the story starts before I was born, and my mom went, I don't know when my mom started going to church, the church I mentioned, but she started before I was born, and she made so many friends there. She actually met her best friend there, her best friend that's still her best friend to this day. And she and her friend, I'm not going to say her name, but I would call them platonic soulmates. They're just besties, they met each other there, and they also met a whole bunch of other women and men at the church, and they're still friends right now. They're still friends for life. So I was the firstborn. I'm firstborn daughter, granddaughter, niece, both sides of the family. So I was firstborn, and so when I was like 1 or 2 years old, I had a wickening. So a wickening is basically like a baptism, but for pagans and Wiccans. So, before I begin, paganism is like an umbrella term, kind of, but not really. So, best example is, queer. If you're familiar with LGBTQ plus terminology, queer is an umbrella term, and maybe that's not the way to describe it, but kind of. So, like, queer, you could be, that's the label you choose, but it's also like LGBTQ plus. That's kind of a an umbrella term, but it's also an overall term, and it includes a bunch of other stuff. So I'm bisexual, but I'm also LGBTQ plus. Do you know what I'm saying? But with paganism, it's like there's paganism at the top, right? But then there's all these sorts of subcategories, like Wiccan, which is a type of paganism, but it's more nature focused and focused on nature. So it's, if you're Wiccan, you're also pagan, but like, yeah. So, oh yeah, but if you're pagan, if you call yourself pagan, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're Wiccan, right? So my mom and her friends were Wiccan. Well, most of her group of friends were Wiccan. My mom definitely was, but she's also pagan. Do you know what I'm saying? Okay. So I grew up in that sort of household, and it was really great. Like my mom, I grew up going to church often during midsummer, or I'm really bad with the Sabbats. Sabbats are like the holidays throughout the year. So I think it was Litha that coincides with midsummer, summer solstice. I think the Litha was the one it was called. I get them mixed up. But so Litha, I would go to church sometimes and go around the totem pole, and we would do like the strings and wrap them around. It was really fun. Yeah, and then we go to church. You would cast a circle, which is basically like a circle of protection on the church before you start the meeting, and you'll call to the 4 different directions and the elements that coincide with them, like north is earth, east is air, west is water, and fire is south, and you would like call upon them and stuff like that. And it was really fun and good vibey. And another thing was we would do prayers at dinner, like say grace, but ours was different because I was raised in a pagan household. So most pagans follow a polytheistic religion, which means like you believe in multiple deities, multiple gods. So we would say, like, thank you, gods, goddesses, and Mother Earth. That's what we would say instead of, dear God or thank you, God, And then once we were finished, we would say, blessed be or Samote be. And girl, I don't even know what that means, but it makes sense. It's basically kind of like saying like, thank you, I guess. But yeah, that's kind of what it looked like to grow up in a pagan household as a kid compared to what most people would grow up in like a Christian or Catholic household. And then also like always been exposed to like candles and like witchy books and stuff, and tarot cards, oracle cards, crystals. They're always been in our house, and there's never been like a stigma against that. And there's always been a influence in my childhood to be kind to nature. Like if I were to pick a flower, always say thank you, and be careful and mindful when picking flowers, and make sure that I'm not just picking them, like pick them with good intent. And I also celebrated Yule. We also celebrate Christmas, but we celebrate Yule. And during Yule time on Yule, so winter solstice, we would get a present from Papa Odin, which is like Santa Claus. And we would also get a letter from Papa Odin, a letter from Papa Odin that would talk about how our improvement through the year and what we could work on. And that was really nice. I feel like I was gonna mention something else. Oh, let me think. Oh yes, a big thing that I grew up with is familiarity in talking about the threefold law. This is a belief that I grew up with, right? So, and this is what both of my parents taught me. And that is, whatever you do comes back to you 3 times. Some people go by the tenfold law. Some people go by the threefold law. But the general consensus is that whatever you do comes back to you in multiples. So if you do something good, good will come back to you 3 times or however many times. If you do something bad, bad will come back to you. It's basically karma. That's what it is. So those are things that I grew up with in a pagan household. But throughout the years, my family kind of like drifted away from these practices. And I've always remained called to them, but my mom, my dad, my sister never had an interest in this, any of it. She's doesn't really believe in any of that stuff, but my family kind of drifted away from it. We didn't go to church that often. It became like maybe we would go once a year, if anything. My mom wasn't into this kind of the witchy stuff anymore. Her cabinet full of like stuff like candles, cards, you know, cups, wands, anything. Like she never touches it. It just stayed there. And in her books, she never touched them anymore. And I was always interested. So I would always go up and read them and stuff. And my mom really never became more interested in talking about it ever. Like after I was 10 years old, I think around that time, she was never interested. It never called to her. And still that remains to this day. But I've always been interested in it. And you know, I've talked about on this channel my spiritual journey, my spiritual awakening. You'll have to go back and find videos on that. But it's always been in the back front of my mind. Like I know about all this stuff, you know, and I also do my own research because I have access to these resources. And I think maybe 2018, maybe, I really started getting back into my roots, you know. With, you know, my religious history, I would go back and I started working with deities, and I had never worked with deities before on this sense, but certain deities came to me. And if you're into paganism, you might understand what that means. But if you're interested in knowing more about deity work and how to know which deities you work with and want to work with you'll reach out to me privately. I'll help you with that. But I started working with my first deity, and I've worked with a few others, but I really started getting back into it in 2018. So, and now I'm just kind of full blown into it. And, you know, I become like, I have phases where I'm way more interested in, you know, witchy stuff than other times of the year. I technically notice like the second like season of the witch, like autumn starts to come, I'm like, I'm in the vibe now, you know? And that's when I start to get more into it. But that's basically what my childhood has looked like. And I wanted to make this video because I went to church yesterday and I hadn't gone in maybe a little less than a year. But I went and I saw someone I knew. So it was really nice to see someone there. It was one of my mom's friends. And she was like, "Oh my God, you're here." And I was like, "Oh my God, you're here. It's nice to see a familiar face and everything." And yeah, I mean, oh yeah, the last time I did really anything, no. The second to last time I did anything church related was I went to my godmother's wedding, which is really nice. But yeah, I went to church yesterday and the drive there was so beautiful. If you don't know, I live in New England, like the gorge fall foliage part of New England, and fall foliage is just getting into its prime right now. So it's just gorge. The drive there, gorge. Oh my God. So I was just like enjoying myself. I was listening to my Season of the Witch playlist. Like I was vibing. And then when I got there, I was like, just feel flooded with memories, and there's some really exciting events happening there, and I plan on going to a lot of them this upcoming few months. I mean, I'm still pretty busy with school and everything, but I know there's some weekends I could definitely attend, especially with the Samhain celebrations. If you don't know, like Samhain or Samhain, some people call it, is the the pagan Norse Gaelic holiday of Halloween, All Hallows Eve. It's like the time of the year when the veil between worlds is the thinnest. So yeah, I might be going to a witch's ball, which is really exciting. Like, oh my God. And I might be going to some other events in October, November-ish that I already plan to go to now. So I'm really just getting more into it right now. Like, oh my God. And I just wanted to talk to you guys about that. Yeah. And if you are a New England girly, like you live in, girl, I don't fucking know, like Connecticut, Massachusetts, anywhere, I highly recommend going. If you live in this area and you're interested in this stuff and you're 18 or older, they have a witches ball happening on, girl, just go to their website. I'm actually, look up Church of Eternal Light, Bristol, Connecticut, because on October 28th, that's a Saturday, they're having an annual witches ball. It's open to literally anyone 18 or older. You can go and you could like have fun. Okay, so hopefully I'll see some of you guys there. That will be really fun, you know, like that would be a vibe. But yeah, that's kind of just like a brief glimpse into what it looks like growing up pagan. And yeah, just if you have any questions about paganism or anything, please reach out to me, because like there's some people, a lot more people are getting interested in paganism and witchcraft and working with deities and working with candles, you know, manifesting, working with crystals, tarot cards, scrying, like any of that. And there's, if you want to talk to someone who grew up with it and not just like this new age stuff, please reach out to me. Because also, if you have concerns with cultural appropriation, closed practices, like cultural appropriation versus appreciation, please reach out to me, because I just recently, the church session I went to talked all about this. So if you kind of want to know a little bit more to make sure that you're not doing anything that you shouldn't be doing, please reach out to me, because I know there's a lot of like on the internet, especially with TikTok, people say, oh, you can't do this. Like you cannot do this. Girl, yes, you can. Most of the stuff you absolutely can do. Like you can use, what does people say? You can't use white sage. Girl, yes, you can. You just need to make sure you're not buying it from like a manufacturer who's like based in China. So like you should buy it from someone, like a best thing you could do is buy it from a native, but you know, buy it from someone who actually grew it at their place and knows what it does. You know, that's something that you totally can do. As long as you're doing it and using it for like the right intention, you know, then yes, it's absolutely okay. So any sort of questions that you might have like that, or just anything at all, like even if you think I can't answer your question, please just ask me, because I have resources. Even if I don't know, I can help you out with those resources. So yeah, please reach out. And I hope you enjoyed this video. Yeah. Bye-bye. See you guys next time. Please like and subscribe.